Well, hello, hello, hello. Let's see. Well, let's shift just to me. I just want me today. It's just me today, y'all. How we doing? How we doing? Can you tell I have started something new? And of course, it's not working, but that's okay. We'll figure it out later. Hello, greetings to everyone. Good evening, good morning, good night, depending on where you are. It is such a privilege to be with you this evening, or again, morning, or by the time you see this, who knows. Anywho, I am Dr. Mel. I am a therapist, coach, and wellness advocate, and I am coming to you live tonight because if you caught my earlier promo, I am stuck inside for several days. The wonderful bug that keeps you away from everyone found me. And it kind of comes with the territory when you work in a school system or you work with a lot of people. I won't blame the little ones, but sometimes they're the main carriers. Amen. Hallelujah. And so, unfortunately, I am home for several days and in my wonderful abode. And so, while I was in my studies and thoughts and all the things of being bored, this came across my feed. This topic that we're going to talk about tonight came across my feed. And it was, one of those like, yeah, we really need to talk about this kind of moments. So, tonight we are going to touch on a topic that for some of you, you may say, this has nothing to do with me, especially if you are of the male gender. But, this can apply to you as well because perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, it affects everyone. Why? Because you are around women. You may have a daughter, you may have a niece, you may have a granddaughter, and at some point, something like this may affect them. And one of the reasons why I even thought, or I really think God just gave it to me to talk about even the more, is because it's happening more and more to our young ladies, and I consider myself a young lady. And that is something that happened to me in my 30s. And so it wasn't really talked about, it wasn't really discussed. Different things were happening. Uh, I'll talk about that at another segment, but ultimately, there were different signs and symptoms that were manifesting. And here it is in my 30s, and I'm wondering what's going on. And I did have the opportunity of speaking with, at the time, one of my mentors who was also a clinician and gynecologist. And he said, hey, you may want to check your hormones. And so we did the test. And sure enough, in my 30s, I was or would have been considered perimenopausal. Talk about a shocker, right? So, what is that? So, tonight's segment, honestly, we're just going to touch on it. And then as we go through the different series, we're going to dive in a little bit more. There may be some individuals that are like, I don't even know why we're talking about this because it doesn't affect me. But again, you'll be very surprised. And if it doesn't affect you directly, there's someone out there that it does affect. So if you feel like this has nothing to do with you or I'm past this point, maybe again, you have a coworker, you have a daughter, you have a granddaughter, you have someone that needs to know this information or at least needs to start thinking about it because it's happening more often than we realize, especially to those who are under the age of 50. So, what is perimenopause? Let's just dive into it. So, one definition, it is the transitional stage before menopause when your hormones, estrogen and progesterone, start to fluctuate. Menopause is confirmed after 12 straight months without having a cycle. And so that is something that usually starts around the age of 50 or 51. But perimenopause can last anywhere from 2 years to 10 years. Let that thing sink in. 2 years to 10 years that could last before you actually hit menopause. And again, some people don't even realize that they're in perimenopause because of the longevity of that time. Another definition or an explanation that comes from the Piedmont Medical Center. And it talks about menopause. It's the time in a woman's life when she no longer has a cycle, and it doesn't happen overnight. The changes leading to menopause happen gradually. Prior to menopause, some women in their 40s, hey, may experience irregular cycles for months, get hot flashes, and have trouble sleeping. This menopause transitional phase, called pre or perimenopause, takes place as estrogen levels shift and fluctuate in the months or years leading up to menopause. Although perimenopause is a normal part of aging, some women don't experience the symptoms and move straight into menopause. So there are some that unfortunately they don't experience this, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. But there are some like myself that will go through this and may experience this for a long period of time. So some stats for you. The average in the US as far as the onset of menopause is between 51 and 52. Again, average. Now, the average for perimenopause may begin as early as 35 or 40. In my case, it actually started around 31, 32. And we'll talk about that in a minute. 50% of women age 40 to 64 report symptoms, but only 8% get an official diagnosis. 8% get an official diagnosis. Sleep issues, about 56% of perimenopausal women sleep less than 7 hours. And sometimes we just think it's just stress or it's just whatever that we're having these challenges with our sleep, but oftentimes it could be related to our hormones. So, what are some signs and what are some symptoms? And let me just pause here and say that this is for educational purposes only. I am not a medical doctor. I am a doctor via mental health, and my PhD is in psychology and in counseling and in a concentration of trauma for disaster trauma. So I am a licensed therapist, and I have worked with women who have experienced things and they're thinking it's just the stressors of life. But one of the main things that I usually recommend is that they go to their doctor and they do talk to their physician, especially if they're in their 30s or more or higher, and they have a test done that talks or shows what's going on with their hormones. Because sometimes what we are experiencing can be related to changes in our system. Something else that, with this particular topic, not a lot of people talk about it, and maybe it's getting some light now because recently, as of last year, one actress, Halle Berry, she has been on the platform to really talk about menopause and to encourage women to know more about it, especially women of color, because for whatever reason there's a stigma related to just saying the word menopause. Oh gosh, we're getting older. And as we get older, unfortunately, ladies, it could be part of life. Now, some women have been blessed to not have to experience it. There are still researchers out there trying to understand it. But for the most part, there's going to be some kind of change. The longer you are here on this great, beautiful earth, something's going to happen. There are going to be changes that will happen. But yet, for some reason, we don't talk about these changes. It's amazing to me that when a young lady is approaching or should be approaching that time of becoming a teen, we're scared to talk to them about it. We're scared to talk to them about, safe sex or sex period, or we're scared to talk to boys about what happens to their bodies as they're changing. We're scared to even give any sound information about what it means when your body starts changing and your armpits are funky and all these things, or hair's growing. I, for the life of me, don't understand why we're so scared, because let me tell you something. These young people, they can tell you more than you think they know. Okay. They have, especially in this generation and in the society that we're in, they have access to so much information. It is ridiculous. One of the things that growing up, I always laugh about, and unfortunately, I don't blame my parents for how they taught me about that, because I was very young when I started. So, complete transparency. And I know some people are going to be like, oh, Lord, you are telling all your business. But you know what? Here's the thing, somebody needs to know that this can happen to them, or this can happen to your daughter. I have a daughter who is now 7, and Lord knows I am not ready for that to happen. However, it happened to me. It happened at 7. And so my mom did not know what to do. My dad freaked out. I don't think he even remembers, but um, my mom couldn't even explain it to me because I just thought I was dying. So I was given a book. I was given a book to read and to learn about what was going on with my body. Because how do you tell a 7-year-old that your body's changing? This is when we also lived in Jamaica. And so it's not like, no offense to, the US of A, but it's not like we were eating a lot of processed foods or anything like that, because the majority of what we were eating was in our backyard or came straight from the market. And so fresh foods, fresh vegetables. And so can't blame it on that. That wasn't it. Later on, I found out that, again, via hormones, it is something that can be passed down. Mom was early as well, not that early, but it can happen. And so, how do you prepare yourself to talk to your child about the changes? We figure it out. Some of us buy little kits and we put things together to give to them so that they can learn about it. And there are now shows and there are pictures and all that kind of stuff. Well, the same goes for us as adults. We should be prepared for the changes that are happening and not just look at it as we're a ticking time bomb. But why do we wait to talk about this? Why do we wait to encourage one another, my sisters, about what's happening? Why do we even just whisper, oh, we're going through the change? Oh, it's that thing. So you're changing. Your body's shifting. It doesn't mean that you're going to see Jesus very soon just because now you may be a little bit warmer than everybody else. you know, the stigma behind it is what also is interesting to me as I was watching these videos today, is that even just to utter the word, it's as if, oh my gosh, you're now decrepit, or you need to be in, I don't even know, you need to be in a tomb or something. You're just changing. Our bodies are changing. And so these are conversations that we need to have with our young ladies so that they can be prepared should something happen much sooner. As in, hey, you're feeling warm, you might want to adjust your clothing. Something that I have to be mindful of is what type of material I wear. It's annoying, but it's something that I have to be mindful of. Certain materials makes me warmer. I will look like I am running a marathon and I'm sitting and doing absolutely nothing. It is what it is. I've learned to carry my fan, a towel, and now that I'm in Florida, oh Lord have mercy, this humidity is a hot mess. But you adjust. Some will say, well, you need to drink more water and you need to stay hydrated, which you do. And unfortunately, being sick, I definitely am doing that. And I have my little jug. I didn't drink much today. I can't really see, but I got to do better. I did my smaller containers of water today. So I did drink my water. But it's not just about that. When you start entering into this season and phase of life, unfortunately, your skin may feel dry. Other areas may And if we're in a ladies only segment one day, we can talk real talk, real talk. But for the sake of this video and potentially kids in the room, we'll keep it PG. But just understanding that as things are adjusting and changing in your body, it's not just something. I don't just need more water. I don't just need more moisturizer. I don't just need more sleep, although sleep is important. But hormonally, things are changing. And so you need to know, where am I on this, if you want to use the word spectrum, so to speak? How do you do that? How do you go from one day waking up feeling, well, pretty good, to the next day feeling like I want to just clear the path and I want nobody in my way? It happens. Now, research is showing that women of color, low income, and mothers often face delayed diagnosis and less medical support. It also shows, or one of the US surveys said that most Black women experience menopause almost 2 years earlier than their counterparts, but yet it is not diagnosed. Many doctors still fail to ask about perimenopause because that is not something that's even truly discussed or studied while they're in school. Shocking. That almost is a little annoying, actually, to me, but I'm not going to throw shade just yet. So ultimately, this is where coming into your own and doing your own research is going to be important. If for nothing else, and this is not going to be a long video, y'all. Literally, we're almost done because I personally don't like long videos. So I'm not going to keep you forever. Sound like a preacher. I'm getting ready to close. But here's what you can do. Number one, do your research. Ladies, do your research. If you're noticing some things are changing, if you're noticing that maybe the attitude is a little bit more sassy than usual, or you notice that some things are happening, maybe sleep cycle is off, you may even feel like, you just don't feel like yourself. You may feel more tired or fatigued than usual. I know sometimes for me, especially in the morning, my energy is very low. And I know that I need to get up and I'm coming back. I am, if any of my coaches seeing this, I have to call them. I'm coming back to the gym. I'm going to make it at 5 a.m. Lord help me, because I need my exercise. I need to get back into fitness and into actually doing more weight training and resistance training than cardio during this phase. And that's something we're going to talk about in the next segment. But I need that. We need that, especially during this period of time. However, that is also in the mornings when sometimes you can be at your lowest point of energy, feeling just drained. On top of the fact that, depending on your stress level, that can also make these symptoms worse. If you are extremely stressed, or you're rid of anxiety, or you're living with other diagnoses such as depression or anxiety, or again, excessive stress, that can also increase the symptoms related to perimenopause. And so I highly encourage you to get a test done that talks or shows you where you are. Where are your hormone levels? Where should you be concerned? You may feel fine. If you're in your 30s and you are thriving, continue to thrive. But if you're starting to feel a little bit of something, I would highly encourage you to speak with your gynecologist. Some other self-care habits, that something that, we all have to work on, but it helps, is to make sure you're getting your vitamins. Vitamin D and magnesium are recommended. Make sure you're getting your exercise. Make sure that you are working on just something that makes you de-stress. Talking again about strength training and your protein intake is another recommendation. And ultimately, you want to do what is best for you. You want to make sure that you are doing what is best for you. Everyone is going to be different. Everyone's body type is different. Everyone's experience is different. But you still want to make sure that you are, again, doing your research and you are practicing something that helps you to then move forward and to go through this process a little smoother, to say the least. But here's some encouraging words. Number one, this is not the end. Some people feel that as soon as they hit into perimenopause or menopause, like, okay, I'm just done. My life is over. That could not be far from the truth. As long as there is breath in your body and there is breath in your lungs and you have the activity of your limbs and your mind, you are going to be amazing and you have work to do. So, that thought process is something that we really need to target, and that stigma is something that we need to target and we need to dismantle, because for whatever reason that has been something that has been implanted in us as a society, not just women, that once you get to a certain age, then you're no longer needed or no longer valuable, or you can no longer produce. Now, to some extent, as yes, we get older, technically, we may not be able to have children or additional children. But honestly, we have so many women that have defied that. As far as I'm concerned, if God says you're going to have a baby and you in your 50s and it is what it is, healthy, and other things are in place, hey, go for it. So some things that we want to continue to, also look forward to or to work on is to identify symptoms early, identify challenges early. And if any of this really is like, okay, this is just a little introduction tonight, but if any of this is resonating with you and you're like, you know what, Melissa, I really just don't even know where to start, or I've been feeling some type of way, but I'm not really sure. So I have some things for those of you who are interested. You can send me a message via my email or a DM. I have a checklist that I would love to share with you that just gives you a little bit more insight about what you can do starting now if you feel that you are entering perimenopause or menopause. And there's also a doctor's questionnaire. Now, this is only, again, for education purposes. Please do not take any of these as gold. I am sharing this because out of my experience, I did not have this information. And I so wish that I did. And it's not because, again, no one didn't take the time to tell me, but it just wasn't even something that I knew about, or it didn't dawn on me. Again, early 30s. Why would I be experiencing this? But it happens. And it's happening more often than we realize or recognize. And so these are the times, these are the conversations that we need to have. Maybe not necessarily at the dinner table, but these are the conversations we need to have with each other. If you notice that, your sister friend or your wife or your granddaughter is just a little off, and again, they're in their 30s, maybe even in their late 20s, because believe it or not, unfortunately, there are some young ladies who may, for whatever medical reasons, have to have things removed, have their ovaries removed. And that can also send someone immediately into early menopause. And so, young or much more mature women that are experiencing any of these symptoms, fatigue, weight gain, weight loss, mood changes, hot flashes sometimes, yes, is one of the big ones. But, for some, including myself, it's not necessarily of having your own personal summer, is that your body doesn't cool down once you are experiencing warmth. Like I said, for me, I step outside, I'm in Florida, it's humid. As soon as I get outside, it is instant downpour. I'm not doing anything. I could be standing still. It just is what it is. But then it takes a while for my body to then cool down. And so, because of learning how things flow, I know what I need to do and what I need not to do. but not everyone knows how to do that. And so I'm encouraging you, if you want that checklist, just let me know. Send me a message, send me an email, send me a DM, a personal message, and I will send that to you. It is a free download and you can share it with friends. It also will have, again, some questions that you can ask your doctor or your medical professional in case you're not really sure what to ask, and it just gives some guidelines. And then there's also a chart that shows you the difference between perimenopause and menopause. So, again, if you have any questions and you're just like, I'm not even sure if I'm in this or not, maybe I'm perimenopausal, maybe I'm already menopausal, maybe I'm just moody because I'm really not getting enough sleep. Either way, you can have this resource and it is a free download. Just let me know by, again, sending me a message or commenting on this video. If this has helped you in any way, even if it's just for knowledge, for information, please do give it a good like. You can even make a comment. Again, don't send me nothing crazy, y'all, but you can put a comment below, and please send this to someone that you care about that needs to know, or at least needs to start maybe their own research or start this conversation. So we're going to be on this journey together. So although it is August, I am going to continue this series for the month of September. And so my goal is to bring you a video live once a week to talk about this in a little bit more depth and more information. There are some books that I am going to be perusing because I don't want to give any items out there that I myself have not gone through. And so there are some books that I'm going to be reviewing and some resources so that I can have some additional resources for you. But if you have some resources and you have some information that you can share, please, by all means, don't be a gatekeeper. Please share. Again, we need to continue. This is a community thing, okay? We need to share and we need to be able to help our sisters. So, and our brothers too, because they need to be able to understand that it's just not because we're moody, but what's really going on. Okay. Anywho, it's been a pleasure. Thank you all so much for being a part of today's pop up live. And unfortunately, I'm going to go back to being bored for a hot second, but I'm going to do something productive with my time while I'm in quarantine. Y'all pray for me as I pray for you. And again, it's just amazing to be able to have this time to talk to you about a topic that is silent but important. You have a great night. God bless. And remember to live to entertain. Do not live to entertain. I'm about to mess up my own stuff. Live to ignite, not to entertain. Be blessed. Stay